Hollywood spent 2 full years searching the entire world for one person. They auditioned hundreds of actors, dancers, and performers across multiple continents. Professional casting directors screened thousands of tapes. They held open calls in Los Angeles, New York, London, and Tokyo. They looked at trained actors, professional dancers, and people who had spent their entire lives studying Michael Jackson's every move. And after all of that, 2 years, multiple continents, thousands of faces, the answer was sitting right there in the family the whole time. But here's what nobody is talking about. Jaafar Jackson almost didn't get this role. There was one specific moment during the casting process that changed absolutely everything. A moment so powerful, it convinced the producers that Jaafar wasn't just the best choice, he was the only choice. And by the end of this video, you'll understand exactly why this casting decision was never really a decision at all. It was inevitable. Let's set the scene. It's 2021. Producer Graham King, the same man behind Bohemian Rhapsody, one of the most successful music biopics ever made, announces a major studio film about Michael Jackson. Not a small independent project, not a documentary, a full-scale Hollywood biopic about the most iconic entertainer who ever lived. The stakes couldn't have been higher. Michael Jackson had fans on every continent, across every generation, in every culture on Earth. His music didn't belong to one country or one era, it belonged to the world. And that meant one thing above everything else. Get the casting wrong, and the entire film collapses before a single frame is shot. So they went bigger than almost any casting search in Hollywood history. Open calls cross multiple cities, professional scouts reaching out to trained actors, elite dancers, and seasoned performers. They even looked at Michael Jackson impersonators, people who had dedicated years, sometimes decades, to studying his movements, his voice, his stage presence. And here's where the story gets interesting. After months of auditions, something wasn't clicking. They were finding people who could dance like Michael, people who could sing like Michael, people who could recreate the moonwalk, the spin, the iconic poses. But nobody, not a single person, could actually be Michael. Director Antoine Fuqua put it plainly. He said they were searching for something beyond talent. They needed someone who could capture Michael's spirit, his aura, that completely undefinable quality that made him unlike any other human being who has ever stood on a stage. Have you ever wondered what it actually takes to become the king of pop on screen? Because what the producers were discovering was that talent alone wasn't the answer, training wasn't the answer, and all the preparation in the world couldn't manufacture what they were looking for. And then one name came up, a name that had been there all along. But what made this person different from every single other candidate on the planet wasn't what anyone expected. It went far deeper than talent, far deeper than training. It went all the way down to the DNA. Jaafar Jackson was born on July 25, 1996. His father is Jermaine Jackson, founding member of the Jackson 5, one of Michael's closest brothers. That makes Jaafar Michael Jackson's nephew. But if you think this story is simply about sharing a famous last name, you're missing the real point entirely. Miles Teller, who plays Michael's lawyer in the film, said something that stopped everyone in the room cold. He said there will never be somebody who portrays somebody in a biopic that has that much of their DNA already in them. Read that again. Not that much talent, not that much preparation, that much DNA. Think about what that actually means. Jaafar didn't have to learn how to move like a Jackson. He didn't spend hours watching old concert footage trying to replicate gestures. He didn't hire a movement coach to break down Michael's walk step by step. The way he carries himself, the subtle mannerisms, the fluidity in his body, these aren't things he studied. They are inherited. They are woven into who he is at a biological level. Watch Michael Jackson move, then watch Janet, then watch Jermaine. There is a specific, unmistakable quality to the way this family occupies space, a grace, a fluidity, a physical confidence that is distinctly Jackson. Jaafar was born with that. It lives in his body the way it lived in his uncle's. And then there's the voice. The Jackson family carries a specific vocal tone, smooth, soulful, with a warmth that runs through the entire bloodline like a current. Jaafar has it. Not as an imitation, not as a studied technique. He has it because it's his. Producer Graham King said he was completely blown away by the way Jaafar organically personifies the spirit and personality of Michael. That word organically is doing a lot of work in that sentence. He doesn't have to try. It just is. But genetics alone don't make you Michael Jackson. Having the DNA is one thing. What happened next is what truly separated Jaafar from every other candidate on Earth. And here's a question worth sitting with for a moment. If you had to portray someone on screen, really portray them, capture their soul, make audiences feel like they're watching the real person, would you rather study them from the outside for years or actually know them? Because that difference is everything. And it's the difference between Jaafar Jackson and literally every other actor who auditioned for this role. Jaafar has real memories of his Uncle Michael, not memories from documentaries, not stories from fan accounts or magazine archives, real, lived, personal memories. He was at Neverland Ranch. He played hide and seek with Michael during family visits. He went on the rides. He watched movies with him. He sat in the same rooms, ate at the same tables, laughed at the same jokes. An outside actor could study Michael Jackson for a decade. They could watch every interview ever recorded, every live performance, every behind-the-scenes clip ever leaked. They could read every biography, every authorized account, every piece of journalism ever written about him. And at the end of all of that, they would still only know the public Michael Jackson, the performer, the icon, the carefully managed image. Jaafar knew the private Michael, the uncle who relaxed around family, the man who existed when the camera stopped rolling, the person behind the superstar, the one who laughed a certain way, moved a certain way, filled a room in a certain way that no camera ever fully captured. He grew up hearing firsthand stories from his grandmother Katherine, from his father Jermaine, from the people who didn't just know Michael Jackson the legend, they knew Michael Jackson the man. These aren't tabloid stories. These aren't secondhand accounts filtered through publicists or ghostwriters. These are family truths passed down at dinner tables and in living rooms. And here's why that matters more than anything on paper. When you portray someone, you don't just need to know what they did, you need to understand why they did it. You need to feel the emotional weight they carried, the pressure, the loneliness, the love. Jaafar understands what it means to carry the Jackson name because he carries it himself every single day of his life. But knowing Michael personally is one thing. What happened in that first room with the producers, that's where the story gets really interesting and where everything changed in an instant. Graham King met Jaafar over 2 years before the casting was officially announced to the public. The worldwide search was still ongoing. Other actors were still being seen. The process was still wide open. But something happened in that meeting that King couldn't shake. They asked Jaafar to perform, and when he moved, when he started to dance, the room went quiet. Not the polite quiet of a professional audition, the stunned quiet of a room full of people realizing they were watching something they hadn't seen in 2 years of searching. Because they weren't watching someone imitating Michael, they were watching someone channeling him. The mannerisms weren't studied, they were natural. The energy wasn't performed, it was organic. That indefinable aura, the specific quality they had been searching for across every continent, was standing right there in front of them, without trying. Director Antoine Fuqua described it as a spiritual connection. Not physical resemblance, not technical skill, a spiritual connection. The kind of thing you either feel or you don't. The kind of thing no acting class on earth has a curriculum for. King later said it was clear in that moment that Jaafar was the only person who could take on this role. Not one of the best, not the front runner, the only. So that was the moment. The 2-year search had its answer after one performance in one room. So here's the question that nobody seems to be asking. If they knew in that very first meeting, why did the search continue for 2 more years? The answer is something nobody expected, and it reveals just how much pressure Jaafar was actually under from the very beginning. The moment King and Fuqua knew, they also knew something else. Casting a family member was going to come with a target on its back. The word nepotism was going to follow this decision everywhere. Critics were already sharpening their knives before a single frame was shot. People would say Jaafar got the role because of his name, because of his family connections, because Hollywood handed a Jackson role and called it casting. The narrative was predictable and it was going to be loud. So the bar for Jaafar was set higher than it would have been for any outside actor in the history of this search. An unknown actor could have walked into one audition and gotten the role based on talent alone. Jaafar had to be so undeniably, unquestionably right for this role that no argument could stick. He had to be so obviously the answer that even the harshest critic would have to pause. Can you imagine that? Having to prove yourself twice as hard just because of your last name, carrying the weight of the Jackson legacy while simultaneously having to prove you earned your place in it. That's the pressure Jaafar walked into every single room with. So the search continued, not because they thought they'd find someone better, they already knew they wouldn't. The search continued because they needed to prove to the studio, to the world, and to themselves that the obvious answer was also the right answer. That this wasn't sentiment, that this wasn't convenience, that after seeing every alternative the entire planet had to offer, Jaafar Jackson was still standing alone at the top. And after 2 years, hundreds of additional auditions, and a global casting call that spanned multiple continents, they came back to the same answer they'd had all along. There was never really anyone else. But even with all of that, the worldwide search, the auditions, the internal certainty, there was still one approval that mattered more than any producer or director on the planet. And when it came, it made everything official in a way nothing else could. Katherine Jackson raised Michael. She watched him take his first steps and his first stage steps. She was there for every triumph and every storm. She knew the private person behind the public icon better than anyone alive, better than any producer, any director, any journalist, any fan. When Katherine publicly stated that Jaafar embodies her son, that it is wonderful to see him carry on the Jackson legacy, that wasn't a grandmother being supportive of her grandson. That was the ultimate authority on Michael Jackson delivering her verdict. Think about the weight of that statement. Katherine has spent decades watching people try to capture who Michael was. She has seen impressions, impersonations, tribute performances, and portrayals from every corner of the entertainment world. She knows better than anyone what Michael looked like, sounded like, moved like, felt like in a room. And she looked at Jaafar and said, "He embodies my son." That word, embodies, not resembles, not reminds me of, embodies, as in the spirit lives in him. This wasn't nepotism wearing the disguise of a family blessing. This was the person who knew Michael Jackson more intimately than any human being on earth, saying that she sees her son in this young man. That kind of validation doesn't come from a name. It doesn't come from a family connection. It comes from truth. But even with Katherine's blessing, there's still one final piece to the story, one thing that makes Jaafar truly irreplaceable in a way that goes beyond all of it. And it's something no acting school, no training program, and no amount of preparation could ever teach anyone else to do. Let's be clear about something. There are extraordinarily talented actors in the world, people who have transformed themselves completely for roles, people who have trained for years to inhabit another person's body, voice, and mannerisms. Hollywood is full of them. But here is what not one of them could ever bring to this specific role. They could never have the genetic resemblance. Makeup and prosthetics can only go so far. There is something in actual DNA, the bone structure, the natural proportions, the way a body moves at rest, that no makeup artist on Earth can fully replicate. Jaafar doesn't need them to try. They could never have the inherited movement patterns. The way Jaafar walks, gestures, occupies space, these come from growing up in the Jackson family. They come from watching Jermaine, from being around Janet, from existing in a household where movement and music were the native language. You cannot learn this. You absorb it over a lifetime, or you don't have it at all. They could never have the natural vocal tone, that specific Jackson sound, the warmth, the soul, the particular timbre runs through the bloodline. An outside actor could train with the best vocal coaches alive and still be doing an impression. Jaafar isn't doing an impression, he's being himself. They could never have personal memories of Michael. You cannot research what it felt like to play hide and seek at Neverland Ranch. You cannot replicate the specific way Michael laughed in a private family moment. You cannot replicate the knowledge of someone who actually sat in the same room as the man and felt his presence firsthand. They could never have the family's blessing, not like this. Katherine Jackson seeing her son in Jaafar isn't something you can earn through preparation. It exists or it doesn't. And they could never truly understand what it means to carry that legacy every single day of your life. Jaafar didn't research the Jackson name for a movie role. He has lived with the weight of it since birth. He knows what it costs, he knows what it means, and he knows what his uncle meant to the world because he grew up inside the family that felt that meaning most personally. An actor plays a role. Jaafar carries his uncle's spirit. That is not the same thing. That will never be the same thing. After everything you've just heard, do you honestly believe any other actor on Earth could have brought all of that into one performance? Drop your answer in the comments right now because I genuinely want to know what you think.